now have allies of Boris Johnson claiming that Rishi Sunak is blocking the release of messages because it could reveal Rishi Sunak plotting to bring down Boris. Now, is this the same Boris Johnson who has not yet released what was on his phone up until 2021? Is that because he can't... What was the reason for that, Kevin? He can't access his phone?
Yeah, he said it didn't fall off a ferry, as happened in the Wagatha Christie case. He just said he switched phones and he couldn't get the old one working and he never switched it on. I think he's now said he'll hand over the phone, so maybe they're going to get some boffin at GCHQ.
I don't think the purpose of the inquiry is to find out why Boris Johnson was moved as Prime Minister.
I think the bigger...
kind of trying to deal with rather bigger issues.
There's that group of Tories and on the right in general who sort of strap Boris Johnson El Cid style of a horse and think he's going to come back and rule Britain.
God, that is such a tortured analogy.
Yeah, he will just never give up. I would have thought if you're the current Prime Minister, you've got more to lose than the last Prime Minister.
Well, I mean,
but gossip, isn't it?
People
in the heat of the moment will say things. Now, I think his weak point on decision making is the scheme to eat out to spread the virus.
They are
in the summer of 2020.
Well,
look, Boris, there is a group of people who want Boris Johnson to come back as Prime Minister, or at the very least are deeply resentful of Rishi Sunak, who they think brought Boris down. I don't think Rishi Sunak did bring Boris down. I think, from what I recall, it was the Chris Pincher thing was the kind of last straw. This was the MP who was accused of inappropriate behaviour. So that
back
carries
to the big issue, though. The inquiry is actually about COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
And all of that.
But these are all...
On what basis is the Cabinet Office seeking to withhold handing WhatsApp messages to...
Yeah, well, no one...
I mean, aren't they in chaos now? Because there is no justification they can give publicly. No surprise to me.
Yeah.
We have no Cabinet Minister on the programme today, because what would they say?
George Freeman, a minister, is he still a science minister? Yeah, admitted on Thursday the government's very likely to lose the court case.
So why are they fighting it?
It's trying to gag its own inquiry. But you've appointed Heather Hallett, Baroness Hallett, one from your end of the...
Yes, the House of Lords, not a Tory.
Yeah, and she's God.
A former very senior law lord.
And she's kind of God and do what she likes.
Well,
I think the danger is, or if you're the Sunak and the Cabinet Office, is you hand over all these messages, they would sift through to only take those that are relevant, but the others leak. I
wonder whether either leak or would they be, because they've been submitted, could they be subject to an FOI request?
I don't think they could be subject to an FOI request because they are effectively court documents once they're handed over to the court, and they are subject to legal privilege. But there is obviously there's the risk of there's the risk of a leak. There's the risk of a leak. But what I'm saying is that people are using this inquiry to, as it were, to settle political scores. So you either say that there's too much, Rishi's plotting is going to come out, or you say, as Kevin said, that the Eat Out to Help Out scheme, which some people argue kind of exacerbated
or evidence of lockdown breaches by Sunak.
Exactly.
Or his advisors, according to allies of
Ed is right.
Johnson.
There is very little justification for what the government is doing. It is a surreal situation where its own inquiry, they're trying to gag their own inquiry. There is one legal justification, and in fact, some senior legal people have commented in the newspapers, it is just about justifiable to say, let's have a court case to test the remit of what can be disclosed and let a court rule on it, but it's still a surreal and odd situation when you set up an inquiry.
It's one of those classic moments which we've experienced where a decision is made somewhere, like a few days ago, a week ago, that we're going to kind of fight this and it's a problem, and then gets its own momentum. They suddenly find out that they're putting a petition to the court to stop it, and they don't really quite know why.
Exactly.
And they'll be sitting in Downing Street saying, why exactly are we doing this? Well, who knows? But, I mean, it's a bit embarrassing to do a U-turn, so therefore we're going to have to wait until we get overruled, and you end up looking chaotic.
Can I just... A technical question. These WhatsApp messages presumably are WhatsApp groups, are they?
Is apparently there were core groups of key ministers and officials.
And so what the Baroness Hallett's asking for is for them to download all of those group conversations. Yeah. But within those WhatsApp groups, they might have said, what, gossip?
Yes, or, I can't make it because it's my daughter's piano lesson.
But no one's going to worry about that being
she's saying that she has to decide what is relevant rather than them.
I understand that, but on a work group, how much personal information is likely to be there.
I was chatting to Nadine Dorries about this, who was a health minister at the time. Then she became a culture secretary. She might join you in the unelected House of Lords if Boris Johnson gets his list through. And then there's a by-election in mid-Bedfordshire. And she said it took about a week, and what they put in as key words. So, because I was asking, well, if you've been saying to your daughter, have you got the milk in? Or, or do we need to put the cat out? That won't be included.
But Kevin, why would that be on a work WhatsApp group?
Oh, no,
because you might say, I can't make the call because I've got to put the cat out.
No, it wouldn't be in, presumably you have like a health department WhatsApp group, but then you might have individual... other groups, like if most of us on WhatsApp, you'll have some that are serious and then some are frivolous, aren't you? If you hand over all your messages, you'd get mine with my kids, for instance.
Okay, so that's what I'm trying to establish. Yeah. She's not just asking for the work WhatsApp messages. She's asking for. But how could you possibly hand over all your WhatsApp messages if you're talking to your husband on WhatsApp? Why would that be? I can see therefore why the government might say. Yeah. Conversations on WhatsApp between husbands and wives, for instance,
but it's
are
the consequence.
completely
I agree. But it's the consequence of being ill-disciplined. In the financial services world now, very, very strict rules. All of your communication has to be done through a work device and all has to be disclosable. Yes. And what people do is differentiate between that and the stuff they do on their personal phone. Yeah. The trouble is, in government, we haven't had that degree of discipline. The lines have become blurred, and that's a problem, and it's going to have to be sorted out, because you can't have people on the same device both doing official government business with civil servants and also talking about your personal matters. But that is where we are at the moment.
Yeah, but it's very hard to stop doing that because it is so convenient. Blair was criticised.
If you worked for Goldman Sachs, you would stop doing it.
Blair was criticised for sofa government. The phone is a work phone, and therefore anything that's on it. That's not what they're saying. They're saying WhatsApp.
Everything.
On WhatsApp, I can understand handing over everything in the work group. But not every single message between your children, between you, between your husband, between your partner.
But where it can get blurred, just say you're Rishi Sunak with, Mrs. Sunak, and you could be saying, Johnson's got this totally wrong today. Have you checked the green cards and the nom-dom status in case we have to flee the country? Now, does that count as admissible or not?
You had absolutely.
The trouble is, but there we go, Kevin. If you don't hand over all the messages, then people can play mischief with what they think.
There was a very clear conclusion of that, Kevin, is you do not write that kind of thing down on WhatsApp.
I know.
You talk about it on the phone, maybe. You have those kind of conversations.
I agree.
The trouble is, if you decide to become a little disciplined, you pay a price.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
I'm exhausted. We got another part.
I've got some WhatsApp to share with you in the break.
He's not used to half an hour's work. He's in the House of Lords. Normally you do 10 minutes.
We'll give you a special allowance for staying on.
Nobody starts till midday, does it?
That's right.
Why am I here so early? I'm in the Lords now.
Well, we subsidise breakfast.
Right. We want to know your views on this, because after an